What if everything you thought you knew about Meghan Markle's pregnancy was a lie? What if the headlines, the celebrations, and the global admiration were all built on a story that wasn't entirely true? Imagine for a moment, a royal family, one of the most scrutinized in the world, rocked not by politics or protocol, but by a secret so shocking it could rewrite history and change the perception of one of the most famous women on the planet. That is exactly the claim Samantha Markle, Meghan's estranged half-sister, is making today. And what she says could leave the world questioning not just Meghan, but everything surrounding the birth of Archie Harrison. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The story begins with whispers, soft, almost dismissible murmurs, but whispers that grew louder with every passing month. Royal watchers, gossip columns, and social media feeds buzzed with speculation. But when Samantha Markle came forward with her allegations, the whispers became a roar. Samantha's claim is bold, dramatic, and incendiary. The real mother of Archie Harrison may not be Meghan Markle. Let that sink in for a moment. The child who captured the hearts of millions, whose every photograph and milestone was celebrated worldwide, might not even be biologically Meghan's. For many, this claim is hard to accept. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, is a public figure whose life has been under a microscope from the moment she stepped onto the royal stage. From her courtship with Prince Harry to their fairy tale wedding, the world has been captivated by her story. She is seen as strong, independent, and fiercely protective of her family. Yet behind the headlines, behind the carefully curated public image, Samantha Markle says there is a truth that has been hidden. One that challenges the narrative the world has been sold. Samantha's accusations come from a place of deep family knowledge. Estranged for years, she has been candid about her grievances with Meghan, speaking openly about perceived betrayals and family conflicts. But this allegation goes far beyond personal resentment. This is about one of the most sensational claims imaginable, that the child the world believes to be Meghan's firstborn is not biologically hers. This revelation has the potential to upend public perception, stir global controversy, and place Meghan in a position that few could have predicted. So why now? Why is Samantha choosing this moment to speak? Timing, as they say, is everything. With Meghan and Harry living a life constantly in the spotlight, from Netflix deals to public appearances, any revelation carries immense weight. Social media amplifies every statement, turning family disputes into global spectacles. And when it comes to Meghan, the stakes are incredibly high. Every word, every accusation, and every revelation is dissected, debated, and scrutinized. Samantha's claims are no exception. The world is listening, and the tension is palpable. But let's back up for a moment. Before we delve into the explosive details, it's important to understand the backdrop of this story, the family dynamics, the long-standing tensions, and the events leading up to this unprecedented claim. Meghan and Samantha's relationship has always been complicated. Publicly, Samantha has expressed frustration, disappointment, and sometimes even anger at Meghan's choices and behavior. Privately, the estrangement has been deep, filled with letters, intercepted communications, and disagreements over family loyalty. It's a narrative of resentment and rivalry that adds layers to the explosive allegations Samantha is now making. And here is where the story takes a turn that no one could have anticipated. Samantha Markle insists that she has proof, evidence that, if validated, would leave the world in shock. Documents, photographs, and insider accounts all suggest a version of events drastically different from the fairy tale narrative we have come to accept. These aren't vague claims or casual insinuations. Samantha asserts that she has concrete information pointing to the truth behind Archie's parentage. Think about that for a second. Evidence, allegations, family secrets exposed to the world. The implications are enormous. For the average observer, the situation is almost surreal. We have grown accustomed to seeing Meghan as a symbol of modern royalty, graceful, poised, and unwavering. Yet Samantha's revelations suggest that the image may be carefully crafted, masking a reality that is far messier. The idea that a royal figure could hide something of such magnitude challenges our understanding of truth, celebrity, and family. It forces the audience to confront uncomfortable questions. How well do we really know public figures? How much of what we see is real, and how much is carefully controlled narrative? And then there is Archie Harrison himself, the child at the center of this storm. Every milestone, every photo, every celebration, if Samantha's claims hold any weight, takes on a new, more complex meaning. For millions of fans who followed the pregnancy announcements, the royal birth, and Archie's first public appearances, the revelation is both shocking and deeply unsettling. It's one thing to question celebrity behavior, but it is entirely another to question the very foundation of a family narrative, the bond between mother and child. Yet Samantha Markle insists she is not acting out of malice. She frames her claims as a matter of truth, accountability, and, she argues, justice. Her motive, she says, is to bring to light facts that the public deserves to know. Whether this is perceived as a courageous act or a betrayal depends largely on which side of the story you are on. And therein lies the tension that will drive this entire expose. On one side, there is Meghan, a beloved public figure whose life is being dissected and questioned. On the other side, Samantha, armed with allegations, documents, and insider knowledge, daring to challenge the narrative that millions have accepted without question. The world is now watching closely. Social media platforms are abuzz with speculation, hashtags are trending, and every new interview fuels the fire. Journalists are digging deeper, trying to corroborate Samantha's claims, while royal experts weigh in with cautious commentary. Meanwhile, Meghan remains largely silent, or at least measured in her public responses, a silence that only adds fuel to the inferno of curiosity and speculation. How will she respond? Will she confront the claims head-on, or will she allow the narrative to unfold without interference? This is not merely a story about celebrity gossip. It is a story about family, secrecy, and the consequences of long-held grudges. It is about what happens when personal grievances intersect with global fame. It is about the delicate balance between truth and perception, and the explosive potential when that balance is disrupted. And at the center of it all is a question that refuses to be ignored. Who is the real mother of Archie Harrison? The answer, Samantha promises, will shock the world. And yet, even as the claim reverberates across social media, in the tabloids, and in public discourse, there is more to the story than just a single revelation. Every detail, every timing, every piece of evidence adds another layer of complexity, creating a puzzle that the world is desperate to solve. The tension is almost unbearable, the curiosity insatiable. People are asking, what will Meghan do next? Will the royal family intervene? How will the public react once all the pieces are revealed? But here's the thing. What Samantha has revealed so far is only the beginning. The twists, the betrayals, the contradictions, and the emotional fallout are yet to be fully exposed. Every new detail opens a door to another shocking revelation. Every document challenges what we thought we knew, and every insider account adds fuel to the fire. By the time we are done, the story of Meghan Markle, Samantha Markle, and Archie Harrison will be transformed into something far more dramatic, far more compelling, and far more controversial than anyone could have imagined. So what happens next? What Samantha claims to have uncovered could change not just the way we see Meghan, but how the entire world understands one of the most famous family narratives in modern history. And yet, as this story unfolds, one thing becomes clear: nothing is as it seems. Every assumption is challenged, every belief questioned, and every fan, critic, and observer left hanging on the edge of a revelation that could redefine everything. A family divided can be a powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. But few divisions are as public or as devastating as the one between Meghan Markle and her half-sister, Samantha. For years, their relationship has been fraught with tension, resentment, and unspoken accusations, a slow-burning conflict that the world only glimpsed in fleeting interviews, social media jabs, and carefully worded statements. Now, Samantha claims that the rift has escalated into something far more explosive, a revelation that could shake the foundations of everything we thought we knew about Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and even the birth of Archie Harrison. To understand the gravity of Samantha's allegations, we first need to look at the roots of the divide. Meghan and Samantha share the same father, Thomas Markle, but their experiences growing up were vastly different. Meghan's childhood, though far from perfect, offered her a certain degree of independence and privilege. Samantha, by contrast, often portrays herself as overlooked, dismissed, and excluded from the fairy tale trajectory that Meghan would eventually follow. That sense of being sidelined, of living in the shadow of a half-sister destined for fame, has colored Samantha's perception of Meghan for decades. Publicly, Samantha has not been shy about expressing her grievances. In countless interviews, articles, and social media posts, she has painted a picture of estrangement, disappointment, and sometimes outright anger. She speaks of letters sent and ignored, attempts to reach out that were met with silence, and family events she was excluded from. Emotional stakes run high. For Samantha, these are not mere slights, they are betrayals. And according to her, the ultimate betrayal came when Meghan stepped onto the global stage, transforming her life and narrative in ways Samantha claims were done at the expense of family loyalty. But the tension is not one-sided. Meghan's camp has long maintained that Samantha's statements are exaggerated or even opportunistic. Some suggest that Samantha's public airing of grievances is driven by jealousy, financial motivation, or a desire for attention. Others argue that family disputes, especially those involving fame and money, often blur the line between truth and perception. For the public, it is nearly impossible to separate fact from personal bias. Yet Samantha insists that her claims are grounded in truth, particularly when it comes to the question of Archie's parentage. The estrangement between the sisters has been exacerbated by media attention. Every interview Samantha gives, every social media post, is amplified by global news outlets and dissected by the public. This magnification of private grievances makes the feud more combustible, transforming personal tension into international spectacle. For Samantha, the constant spotlight is both a platform and a weapon. Every word she shares is designed to challenge the image Meghan has carefully constructed, revealing cracks in the public facade and hinting at secrets the world has not yet uncovered. One of the most telling aspects of the Markle family divide is how it plays out in public perception. Meghan is adored by millions, celebrated as a modern, independent woman who challenged tradition and embraced personal empowerment. Samantha, on the other hand, is often portrayed as the angry sister, the outsider who can't let go of past grievances. This dichotomy, beloved royal versus estranged family member, creates tension not only within the family, but also in the court of public opinion. Audiences are forced to question whose version of events they believe and whose narrative is more credible. Samantha's allegations take the divide from personal conflict to something far more sensational. She claims that the rift is not just about past slights, but about hidden truths that Meghan has allegedly tried to suppress for years. According to Samantha, there are letters, communications, and insider accounts that point to discrepancies in Meghan's publicly presented story. Every ignored letter, every unreturned call, every excluded family gathering becomes part of a pattern, one that Samantha argues demonstrates deception on a scale far beyond ordinary sibling rivalry. The emotional stakes are immense. Family betrayals are painful enough in private, but when they are exposed to the world, the consequences multiply exponentially. For Meghan, the allegations strike at her carefully maintained public persona. For Samantha, speaking out carries its own risks, legal repercussions, public backlash, and personal scrutiny. Yet she proceeds, undeterred, insisting that the truth must be known, regardless of the fallout. This is a classic conflict. Loyalty to family versus loyalty to truth, public perception versus private reality. Even beyond the immediate family, the Markle divide has had ripple effects throughout Meghan and Harry's circle. Friends, colleagues, and advisors have reportedly been caught between loyalty to Meghan and the increasingly public feud with Samantha. Some insiders suggest that the tension has created an atmosphere of anxiety, where every interaction must be weighed against the potential for leaks, statements, or revelations that could ignite media frenzy. The divide is no longer just personal. It is a public phenomenon with consequences for everyone connected to Meghan. Samantha's narrative also introduces a moral dimension. She frames her revelations as not just exposing family conflict, but exposing a greater truth, one that the public deserves to know. She claims that the secrecy surrounding Archie's birth and Meghan's pregnancy is not merely a personal matter, but a deception that impacts the global perception of the royal family and the integrity of the narrative surrounding Meghan's role as a mother. This claim transforms a sibling feud into a story of potentially historic significance, one that challenges the trust of millions of people who have followed Meghan's journey with admiration. Adding to the tension is the long history of media coverage. Samantha has been a controversial figure in tabloid reporting, often portrayed as vocal and sometimes combative. Each public statement she makes is scrutinized, amplified, and interpreted through the lens of Meghan's already intense media presence. The combination of estranged family, global media attention, and explosive allegations creates a perfect storm, a storm that threatens to engulf both sisters and the royal narrative itself. But what makes this family divide truly shocking is the escalation to claims about Archie's parentage. According to Samantha, the feud is no longer just about resentment or personal slights. It is about truth, identity, and the foundation of the family itself. This allegation elevates the story from celebrity gossip to a high-stakes drama with global implications. The question now isn't just about who said what or who felt wronged. It is about one of the most intimate aspects of family life, the bond between mother and child. Even as the public grapples with the gravity of these claims, the personal toll on both Meghan and Samantha cannot be understated. Estrangement, anger, and betrayal are magnified when played out under the global spotlight. The sisters' relationship, already fragile, is now thrust into a realm where every action is dissected, every statement scrutinized, and every reaction interpreted through the lens of scandal. The emotional landscape is volatile, the stakes enormous, and the outcomes unpredictable. And yet, Samantha insists that she is motivated by more than resentment. She portrays herself as a guardian of truth, someone compelled to speak out because silence would mean complicity in what she views as deception. Whether the public sees her as a whistleblower or as a provocateur remains to be seen. But there is no denying that her claims have already forced millions to question the reality they thought they understood. The Markle family divide is far more than a personal conflict. It is a story of estrangement, media scrutiny, emotional upheaval, and now, explosive allegations about the very heart of the family. Every ignored letter, every interview, every whispered accusation contributes to a narrative that is as gripping as it is controversial. And at the center of it all is a question that refuses to be ignored. What is the truth behind Meghan Markle's pregnancy and the birth of Archie Harrison? The answer, Samantha insists, lies in the family history, the communications, and the hidden truths that have been kept from the public eye. But uncovering this truth will not be simple. It involves untangling decades of resentment, interpreting the motivations behind public statements, and confronting the stark contrast between public image and private reality. This is a story that will challenge assumptions, ignite debate, and leave the audience questioning everything they thought they knew about Meghan Markle. And just when it seems the family divide has revealed all its secrets, Samantha drops a hint of what is to come. A revelation that promises to shake the very core of the narrative surrounding Archie Harrison. A revelation so shocking that it threatens to overshadow every past grievance, every media headline, and every public appearance. It all started with whispers, just small murmurs at first, almost dismissible, as if the world wasn't ready to believe them. Yet whispers have a way of growing louder when repeated, and when Meghan Markle announced her pregnancy with Archie Harrison, those whispers turned into a roar. Royal watchers, tabloids, and social media alike were abuzz, dissecting every statement, every photograph, every smile. But behind the curated public narrative, Samantha Markle was listening and watching carefully. She claims that what the world celebrated as a joyous occasion was not the full story. Pregnancy announcements are often joyous, symbolic moments, carefully timed and strategically shared. For a royal figure like Meghan Markle, the stakes are even higher. The world expected a carefully orchestrated announcement, with the perfect photograph, the right message, and the precise level of public emotion. Meghan delivered, as always, with elegance and poise, the perfect modern duchess capturing hearts worldwide. But according to Samantha, there were cracks beneath the surface. clues the media never noticed, hints that the public was too enchanted to see. From the very beginning, the rumors were subtle. Observers noted minor inconsistencies in Meghan's appearances, her health updates, and the timeline of events leading up to the announcement. Social media threads speculated endlessly. Could the pregnancy be faked? Was there something being hidden? Most dismissed these theories as baseless, the usual chatter of an internet obsessed with celebrity gossip. But Samantha claims these were not random speculations. They were breadcrumbs, pieces of a story she had been aware of long before the public caught wind. Samantha's narrative begins in the months leading up to Meghan's public pregnancy confirmation. According to her, there were meetings, communications, and subtle hints that raised serious questions about the timeline and authenticity of the pregnancy. Family letters, intercepted messages, and insider accounts paint a picture of a carefully controlled story, one that was shared with the public selectively, and with a clear awareness of the media's appetite for fairy tale narratives. Samantha contends that every detail, from the choice of photographer to the release of public statements, was meticulously curated to present a flawless image. And yet, curiously, the world's fascination only grew. Every public appearance by Meghan was scrutinized. Her outfits, her expressions, her demeanor. Experts weighed in on social media, dissecting photos for any hint of pregnancy, any inconsistency in the timeline. Royal commentators debated tirelessly on television and online forums. But while the world focused on these superficial cues, Samantha claims there was a deeper story unfolding, a story that went unnoticed, ignored, and unreported. The rumors, Samantha alleges, were not born of gossip alone. She says that family members were aware of discrepancies long before Meghan's announcement, and that attempts to raise concerns were dismissed or ignored. According to Samantha, the carefully maintained public facade masked a private reality, one that only she and a handful of insiders knew. These early rumors, dismissed at the time as trivial, would later become central to her explosive allegations about Archie's parentage. Even the media, obsessed as it was, missed what Samantha considers the most telling signs. Every carefully staged photo shoot, every public statement, and every carefully timed interview served to reinforce the narrative of a happy, expectant mother. Yet Samantha insists that behind closed doors, the story was far more complex. She claims that Meghan, aware of scrutiny and criticism, managed perception strategically, creating a public image that diverged sharply from private reality. Social media played a role unlike ever before. When Meghan's pregnancy was first announced, platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook lit up with admiration, speculation, and sometimes criticism. Every fan theory was amplified, every comment dissected. The global audience became both witness and participant, consuming every detail with fervor. Samantha, watching from the sidelines, says she could see the narrative being constructed in real time, a narrative that obscured the truth, whether intentionally or otherwise. Interestingly, even royal watchers who prided themselves on objectivity found themselves captivated by the mystery. Photographs were analyzed endlessly. The way Meghan held her hand over her stomach, the timing of baby showers, even her reported health conditions. Every observation sparked new debates, new speculation, and new layers of intrigue. And as the rumors gained traction, Samantha Markle began preparing for the moment she would go public, confident that her perspective and her alleged evidence would eventually need to be heard. The emotional stakes of these rumors were enormous. For the public, pregnancy is an intimate, relatable experience. For a royal figure, it is simultaneously public and intensely personal. Any perceived inconsistency or hint of deception can ignite outrage, sympathy, or disbelief. Samantha claims that by carefully timing Meghan's public appearances and by controlling which details were released, a narrative was created that concealed truths she believes are critical to understanding Archie's true story. The tension between public perception and private reality, according to Samantha, is the crux of the explosive revelations to come. And then there were the media's mistakes. In their relentless pursuit of content, journalists often overlooked or misinterpreted subtle cues. Minor discrepancies in interviews, timing of announcements, and photographic evidence were dismissed as trivial. But Samantha says these overlooked details were the keys to understanding a larger, more controversial truth. Each small anomaly was a piece of the puzzle. A puzzle, she claims, points to something the public was never supposed to see. Rumors, of course, are only as powerful as the audience that consumes them. And in Meghan's case, the audience was vast, global, and intensely engaged. Millions of people watched, read, and shared every update. Social media threads spun into storms, news outlets competed for exclusives, and discussion forums became battlegrounds for believers and skeptics alike. Samantha's point is that amidst this frenzy, the truth was being carefully hidden, not from the public, but from those closest to Meghan herself. The timing of the revelations, according to Samantha, is also critical. With Meghan and Harry's lives now intensely scrutinized, and with their media ventures generating headlines daily, the stage was set for maximum impact. Every detail she plans to reveal, she claims, is supported by documentation, correspondence, or eyewitness accounts. The rumors that began as whispers have grown into a full-blown narrative that challenges public perception at every turn. The emotional resonance of these rumors cannot be overstated. For fans of the royal family, pregnancy announcements are joyous milestones. For skeptics, inconsistencies provoke curiosity. But when Samantha brings forward her claims, the story transforms into something far more serious. A question of truth, trust, and transparency at the highest levels of celebrity and royalty. This is no longer speculation. It is, according to Samantha, a matter of uncovering hidden realities that could change the world's understanding of Meghan, Archie, and the very narrative the royal family has constructed. And then came the tipping point. The rumors that once seemed harmless or easily dismissed began to coalesce into a narrative so shocking that it demanded attention. According to Samantha, the inconsistencies she had observed were not random. They were part of a deliberate pattern, one that pointed to truths about Meghan's pregnancy and Archie's birth that the world had never been told. What began as whispers had become a storm that Samantha was prepared to expose to the world. The global audience, meanwhile, remained oblivious to the magnitude of what was unfolding. They celebrated, speculated, and engaged with the story in ways that fueled its reach, unknowingly participating in a drama that extended far beyond public appearances and press releases. Samantha's preparation, observation, and eventual decision to speak out set the stage for a revelation that would shock millions. But just as the world was settling into the familiar rhythm of Meghan's public life, Samantha dropped her first major claim. An assertion so controversial, so explosive, that it shifted the narrative entirely. The pregnancy rumors that had seemed minor, even trivial, now carried the weight of potentially historic implications. And what Samantha claims next would force the world to question everything they thought they knew about Archie Harrison and about Meghan Markle herself. When Samantha Markle stepped forward, she didn't just bring words, she brought evidence. Or at least, that is what she claims. And evidence, in any story like this, is the difference between gossip and a bombshell revelation. Samantha insists that what she has isn't conjecture, rumor, or personal grievance. It's proof. Documents, photographs, and insider accounts, all painting a picture that challenges everything the public thought about Meghan Markle, her pregnancy, and the birth of Archie Harrison. The first question, of course, is credibility. Can Samantha Markle be trusted? Over the years, the public has seen her appear in interviews, write op-eds, and post scathing comments on social media, often criticizing Meghan in unflinching terms. Some dismiss her as bitter, opportunistic, or jealous. Others, however, see a woman determined to tell what she believes is the truth, regardless of how explosive it might be. In either case, the release of evidence transforms her from a disgruntled relative into a potential whistleblower, and that elevates the stakes immeasurably. So what exactly does Samantha claim to have? She describes several types of evidence, each more shocking than the last. First, there are letters and communications she claims were sent to Meghan, or intercepted from Meghan's representatives, that reveal a version of events never shared with the public. These documents, according to Samantha, outline concerns about timelines, inconsistencies in personal accounts, and key decisions about Archie's birth. Each letter allegedly paints a picture of a family aware of hidden truths but bound by fear, protocol, or strategy. Then there are photographs. In today's world, photos are often considered incontrovertible evidence. But in this case, Samantha claims that even the images shared with the public were curated and selective. She suggests that there are behind-the-scenes photographs and images from family gatherings that contradict Meghan's public story, showing moments, gestures, or interactions that raise serious questions about the narrative she has presented to the world. These images, Samantha insists, are crucial to understanding what she alleges is a carefully constructed facade. Insider accounts also play a key role in Samantha's alleged evidence. She cites friends, acquaintances, and distant relatives who witnessed private interactions, overheard conversations, or were privy to family decisions. According to Samantha, these insiders provide critical context, corroborating elements of her claims while highlighting contradictions in Meghan's public narrative. Every detail, every whispered conversation, every unexplained absence, every carefully timed announcement builds toward the shocking conclusions she promises. Perhaps the most dramatic part of Samantha's evidence, however, is the claim that it points directly to the true circumstances surrounding Archie's birth. She alleges that the timeline, the communications, and even the medical details shared publicly do not fully align with what actually occurred. While she has not made every piece of evidence public, she has teased that the documentation is both extensive and damning, suggesting that the world has been presented with a story that is, at best, incomplete, and at worst, misleading. The weight of this evidence cannot be underestimated. In a case involving royalty, celebrity, and global attention, even the hint of documentation transforms speculation into headline news. Journalists, analysts, and fans alike have dissected every claim, every interview, and every social media post for any signs of truth. The idea that Samantha has concrete proof raises the stakes exponentially, inviting questions that range from the practical. Are these documents authentic? To the existential, what does this mean for the story we've been told about Meghan and Archie? And the timing of her revelations is critical. Samantha waited until the global audience was deeply invested in Meghan and Harry's story. Netflix deals, royal appearances, and public scrutiny have ensured that nearly every aspect of their lives is visible, dissected, and debated. By entering the conversation at this particular moment, Samantha maximizes the impact of her claims, ensuring that her evidence will be evaluated in the context of global fascination with Meghan Markle. Timing, she understands, is everything. There are also emotional layers embedded in Samantha's presentation of evidence. She is not merely reporting facts. She is conveying betrayal, frustration, and long-suppressed resentment. Each piece of evidence, she argues, reflects a narrative in which she has been sidelined, ignored, or dismissed, a narrative that culminates in a story she believes the world deserves to know. The tension between public perception and private knowledge is central here. Samantha is claiming that she alone possesses access to the hidden truth, making her revelations both tantalizing and controversial. Critics, of course, have challenged the authenticity and interpretation of this evidence. Some say that Samantha is misrepresenting documents or exaggerating the significance of minor details. Others suggest that selective presentation can distort reality, making small discrepancies appear monumental. But Samantha pushes back, insisting that she is being transparent and honest about what she has seen and collected. According to her, the evidence is not only credible, it is critical for understanding the full story behind Meghan's pregnancy and Archie's birth. The media response has been explosive. Headlines proclaim scandal, intrigue, and royal controversy. Social media threads explode with theories, speculation, and heated debate. Every journalist seeks to verify, analyze, and contextualize Samantha's claims. Fans of Meghan Markle are divided. Some defend the Duchess fiercely, dismissing Samantha's evidence as fabrication or jealousy, while others are intrigued, questioning whether there is more to the story than they have been led to believe. The evidence, even without full public disclosure, has already ignited a global conversation. And yet, the most dramatic aspect of Samantha's evidence is the way it interacts with public perception. Photos, letters, and insider testimonies challenge the narrative carefully curated by Meghan's team, creating a stark contrast between what the world sees and what Samantha claims is reality. This tension between image and truth fuels the drama, forcing audiences to grapple with questions of trust, authenticity, and credibility. How much of Meghan's life is genuine? How much has been strategically managed? And most importantly, if Samantha is correct, what does it mean for Archie Harrison's story? The emotional stakes are further heightened by the implications of the evidence. If Samantha's claims are accurate, the narrative surrounding Meghan's pregnancy is not merely a story of celebrity or royalty. It is a story about secrecy, deception, and the construction of public reality. It is about the way one family's internal conflicts have been amplified to global significance, affecting millions of fans and followers around the world. Every piece of evidence, Samantha argues, contributes to a mosaic that exposes contradictions, inconsistencies, and potentially explosive truths. Samantha's presentation of evidence also underscores a larger question. Can the truth survive in a world obsessed with image? In an era where public figures are scrutinized endlessly, where every action is photographed, tweeted, and analyzed, the line between private reality and public performance becomes perilously thin. Samantha's claims highlight that tension, suggesting that the story of Meghan's pregnancy and the identity of Archie Harrison's mother may not align with the polished narrative presented to the world. But what makes Samantha's evidence so compelling is that it is not just circumstantial. She asserts that the documents, images, and insider accounts form a coherent, corroborated pattern. According to her, the evidence points clearly to the conclusion she has long maintained, that the narrative surrounding Archie's birth is incomplete, possibly misleading, and certainly in need of scrutiny. It is this claim, more than any individual document or image, that has captured global attention and sparked debate across every platform imaginable. And just when it seemed the world had processed the gravity of Samantha's claims, she teased the most explosive piece of her evidence yet, something she says will force even the most ardent skeptics to confront the possibility that the story of Archie Harrison's birth is far from what they have been told. Every letter, every photo, every insider account becomes more than just documentation. It becomes part of a larger revelation that threatens to upend the royal narrative entirely. When Samantha Markle's claims first reached the ears of the royal family, the response was swift but measured. Royals are trained to endure scrutiny, to maintain composure under pressure, and to protect the institution above all else. Yet the allegations Samantha made struck at the heart of the family's image, raising questions not just about Meghan Markle, but about the integrity of the narrative surrounding Archie Harrison. Behind palace walls, whispers turned into urgent discussions, phone calls multiplied, and advisors scrambled to assess the damage. Imagine being in those rooms at Kensington Palace or Windsor Castle as news broke. Courtiers, communications directors, and family members would have convened, carefully weighing every potential response. Royals rarely react impulsively, knowing that any public statement could escalate into international headlines. But this situation was different. Samantha's claims were personal, explosive, and directly connected to the lineage of a child. The future of the monarchy's public image was suddenly intertwined with a family feud that had been kept mostly private until now. Reports suggest that early discussions focused on damage control. How do you contain a narrative that has already spread across social media, international tabloids, and mainstream news outlets? The palace has teams of communications experts, legal advisors, and public relations specialists whose job is to maintain the royal image while mitigating scandal. But Samantha's allegations were not standard gossip. They were framed as evidence-backed claims about pregnancy, paternity, and deception. For the palace, this was a high-stakes chess game with no clear moves. Inside the family, reactions were reportedly mixed. Some senior royals may have been concerned primarily with public perception, worried that Samantha's story could undermine the respect and admiration that Meghan had built over the years. Others, according to insiders, were more focused on private dynamics, how such claims could affect familial relationships, emotional bonds, and trust. The royal family, after all, has navigated decades of scandal, but rarely has a family feud intertwined with allegations of motherhood itself reached this level of intensity. Palace insiders suggest that Meghan's own reaction was a combination of shock, frustration, and careful calculation. She has always been aware of public scrutiny, Yet Samantha's claim struck a particularly sensitive chord. Allegations questioning the legitimacy of her role as a mother are intensely personal, crossing a line that even media criticism rarely reaches. Friends close to Meghan reportedly described her as stunned and angry, yet determined to respond strategically rather than impulsively. Harry's role in this crisis is equally complex. As a husband, he is deeply protective, fiercely loyal, and increasingly wary of external threats to his family. Insider accounts indicate that Harry consulted extensively with Meghan and their advisors, weighing potential responses while considering the impact on Archie. Every statement, every action had to be measured, calculated, and aligned with their broader strategy for privacy and public perception. The stakes were higher than ever, and the royal family watched closely, understanding that every move or misstep could have global repercussions. The palace communications team, accustomed to managing controversies ranging from protocol breaches to financial scandals, reportedly faced unprecedented pressure. A unique challenge emerged. This was not merely about politics, image, or celebrity behavior. It was about a deeply personal claim involving maternity, paternity, and the narrative of one of the most famous families in the world. Publicly, the royal family's response was almost silent, but intentional. Silence is a powerful tool in royal strategy. It signals composure, avoids legitimizing unfounded claims, and minimizes media fodder. Yet behind the scenes, discussions were frantic. Legal teams examined the potential consequences, advisors assessed the media fallout, and family members debated whether a measured public statement should be issued or whether discretion was the best strategy. Every option carried risk. Every decision had consequences. Interestingly, Samantha Markle's allegations also forced the royal family to confront internal dynamics that had long been delicate. Meghan's relationship with her extended family has been complicated, and these revelations brought long-standing tensions into sharp focus. Questions about loyalty, trust, and the potential for public embarrassment now loomed larger than ever. According to insiders, discussions within the palace were not just about managing Samantha. They were about preparing for a cascade of public scrutiny, where every detail of Meghan's private life could be dissected in real time. At the same time, the palace faced a unique challenge: global audience reaction. Social media platforms, news outlets, and fan forums exploded with speculation. Every thread, post, and comment amplified the situation, often distorting facts, misinterpreting statements, and creating a frenzy of misinformation. The royal family had to navigate not just Samantha's claims, but the tidal wave of public curiosity, skepticism, and debate. Each new article or viral post risked escalating the narrative beyond anyone's control. Some advisors reportedly pushed for a direct rebuttal, arguing that clarity and transparency would prevent misinformation from taking hold. Others counseled restraint, warning that any acknowledgement might inadvertently validate the claims. The debate reflected a delicate balance between family loyalty, institutional preservation, and strategic communication, a balance that the royal family has had to perfect over generations, but that has never faced such a personal, intimate allegation. For Meghan, the stakes were profoundly personal. Allegations about pregnancy and the identity of a child strike at the very core of motherhood, family identity, and personal integrity. According to sources, she spent hours consulting with trusted advisors, carefully considering how, or if, to respond publicly. Harry, similarly, focused on protecting their son and ensuring that their family unit remained intact amid a storm of speculation and potential scandal. What makes this chapter of the story even more compelling is how it demonstrates the intersection of personal conflict and global consequence. The royal family's decisions in response to Samantha Markle's claims are not just private. They are watched by millions, debated endlessly, and analyzed for subtle signals. Every facial expression, every word, every public appearance carries interpretive weight. A private feud becomes a public spectacle. A family dispute becomes global headline news. Yet even with the palace's resources, there was no simple solution. The claims were too personal, too sensational, and too intertwined with the very narrative the royal family had carefully constructed over decades. Advisors knew that the world would watch closely, that every reaction, or lack thereof, would be dissected. And they also knew that, at its core, the story Samantha was telling was about much more than public image. It was about family, truth, and the bonds that defined even the most famous households. As the world waited for a response, Samantha continued to feed the narrative, hinting at more revelations, more evidence, and more explosive claims. Her strategy was calculated. Keep the public curious, keep the media engaged, and ensure that the story remained at the forefront of global conversation. For the royal family, this meant navigating an unprecedented challenge. A sibling feud transformed into international controversy, with stakes higher than ever before. And just as the palace began to implement their cautious strategy, Samantha hinted at a new piece of evidence, one that she claims will force the family and the world to confront a truth no one expected. The royal family's measured silence could only delay the inevitable. The storm Samantha had set in motion was only gaining strength. The moment Samantha Markle's claims hit the media, the world erupted. Social media platforms became a battlefield overnight, as millions of fans, critics, and curious onlookers rushed to weigh in. Every news outlet, from tabloids to mainstream publications, amplified the story, dissecting every word, photo, and interview. The public, who had long adored Meghan Markle as the modern, relatable Duchess, now found themselves confronting questions that challenged everything they thought they knew. It started slowly. A tweet here, a Facebook post there, subtle speculation, almost playful at first. Could it really be true? Could there be any truth to Samantha's claims? Within hours, these questions had spiraled into global conversation. The story became viral not because of any official confirmation, but because of its sheer audacity. A family feud had transformed into a question of motherhood, identity, and royal legacy. A combination irresistible to a world hungry for scandal. Fans of Meghan were quick to defend her. Online, hashtags praising Meghan's grace, resilience, and modern approach to royal life began trending. Hashtag believe in Meghan, and similar phrases flooded Twitter and Instagram, with millions expressing outrage at what they saw as attacks on a beloved figure. Many dismissed Samantha as bitter, opportunistic, or jealous, insisting that her claims were motivated by personal vendetta rather than truth. In the court of public opinion, emotion often overshadowed evidence, and fans rallied behind Meghan with fierce loyalty. But skepticism grew as well. Some observers, journalists, social media analysts, and armchair detectives alike examined every detail of Meghan's public appearances for inconsistencies. They compared timelines, scrutinized photographs, and debated discrepancies in statements. Every small anomaly became fodder for speculation. The internet, with its endless appetite for scandal, transformed minor details into supposed proof that something was amiss. The story snowballed, fueled as much by curiosity as by outrage. Mainstream media, sensing the story's viral potential, jumped in with full force. Headlines screamed of family betrayal, royal controversy, and alleged deception. Articles dissected Samantha's claims line by line, analyzed her past statements, and sought to contextualize her evidence. News programs dedicated entire segments to the feud, inviting experts to debate its legitimacy and potential impact. Every mention, every discussion, only amplified the story's reach, pulling millions more into the whirlwind of speculation. Social media was especially unforgiving. Memes, GIFs, and commentary spread faster than traditional news coverage. Fans who once celebrated Meghan now questioned her honesty. Critics seized the opportunity to revisit previous controversies, linking Samantha's claims to past rumors, interviews, and inconsistencies. The public debate was relentless, polarizing audiences in ways that few royal scandals had ever managed. Every day brought new posts, new theories, and new waves of outrage or support. Interestingly, the public's fascination was not merely about Meghan. It was about identity, truth, and family. Samantha's claims struck a nerve because they challenged perceptions of motherhood and familial loyalty in the modern era. People were compelled to ask difficult questions. How much of public life is curated? Can personal narratives ever be fully trusted? What responsibility do families have to one another when truth and public image collide? The debate became as philosophical as it was sensational. The impact of public reaction reached beyond social media. Merchants, talk shows, and even unrelated news outlets covered the story, knowing that it captivated attention. International news networks ran updates alongside breaking stories from politics and global events, treating Samantha's claims as front-page material. This level of attention was unprecedented for a family dispute, elevating the feud from tabloid gossip to a global spectacle. Even within the royal family, the public outcry added pressure. Advisors and strategists noted that perception was rapidly diverging from reality, or at least from the curated version of reality Meghan had presented. Every social media post, every trending hashtag, and every viral video influenced how millions viewed the situation. Public perception, experts argued, was becoming a force that could not be ignored, forcing the family to respond, not necessarily to Samantha, but to the global conversation she had ignited. Samantha's strategy, intentional or not, thrived in this environment. By providing tantalizing hints, selective evidence, and ongoing commentary, she ensured that the story would remain in public consciousness. She did not need full verification or confirmation. The combination of social media frenzy, media amplification, and human curiosity was enough to sustain attention. For Samantha, the public's reaction became a tool, amplifying her voice far beyond what traditional family disputes could achieve. The public response also revealed deep divisions in fan loyalty. Some devoted followers of Meghan felt betrayed, confused, or even angry, questioning whether they had been misled. Others rallied more passionately than ever, refusing to accept any claims that threatened her image. Comment sections, forums, and discussion groups were filled with heated debates, often devolving into personal attacks or defenses of Meghan's character. The story had become not just about family or truth, but about identity, perception, and cultural allegiance. Critically, the intensity of public reaction pressured media outlets to continue coverage. Even small developments, an interview, a hint of evidence, a clarification, became newsworthy. Every twist and turn generated clicks, shares, and views, perpetuating a feedback loop in which public fascination and media reporting reinforced one another. Samantha's claims, even without full disclosure of all evidence, maintained constant visibility, keeping the story alive in a way few family disputes ever could. At the heart of this chaos was the question that everyone wanted answered. Was there any truth to Samantha's allegations? Curiosity, suspicion, and intrigue intertwined, creating a global audience waiting for resolution. Millions hung on every statement, every interview, and every social media post, desperate for confirmation or refutation. Yet the more the world demanded clarity, the more ambiguous and explosive the narrative became. Samantha's ability to control public attention was, in itself, remarkable. She had transformed a private dispute into a global conversation, manipulating timing, presentation, and strategic revelations to maintain intrigue. Each new post, each hint of evidence, reignited curiosity and speculation, keeping audiences engaged and hungry for more. The public's reaction was not just a side effect. It was a critical component of the unfolding drama, amplifying every claim and ensuring that the story could not be ignored. But just when the world thought they had fully grasped the implications, Samantha teased a revelation so provocative it would push public fascination to new heights. She hinted at details that would, if proven true, force the global audience to reconsider everything they believed about Meghan Markle, her pregnancy, and Archie Harrison's story. The conversation was no longer just about family or celebrity. It was about confronting truths that had been carefully hidden, secrets that could redefine public perception. For weeks, the world waited. Social media buzzed, tabloids thrived, and public speculation reached fever pitch. Every interview, every public appearance, every carefully timed post was dissected, analyzed, and debated. Millions wondered, when would Meghan Markle finally respond? And when she did, would she address Samantha Markle's explosive claims directly, or sidestep them entirely? Meghan's silence had been strategic. In the realm of royalty, silence is a tool, a shield, and a weapon. By refraining from comment, she avoided granting credibility to her half-sister's allegations while maintaining an image of composure under fire. But silence also comes with its own pressure. Public curiosity and media scrutiny grow with every passing day, and the longer she remained silent, the more speculation intensified. Every moment of quiet fueled rumors, creating a narrative that Meghan could not control without intervention. When Meghan finally spoke, it was not in a conventional press conference or formal statement. The first hint of her response came through a carefully orchestrated interview with a major media outlet, one that promised insight, intimacy, and clarity. The interview was filmed in a setting that reflected both elegance and approachability, striking a delicate balance between royalty and relatability. Meghan appeared composed, poised, yet unmistakably aware of the stakes. Every word was measured, every pause intentional. The audience felt the weight of her presence as she prepared to address the swirling storm. From the very first sentence, Meghan's tone was deliberate. She acknowledged the public interest in her family and her son, yet framed her statements in a way that emphasized privacy, dignity, and personal boundaries. Without directly naming Samantha, she addressed the broader narrative, challenging assumptions, defending her integrity, and asserting her truth. Her message was clear. She would not allow unverified claims to overshadow her role as a mother, a wife, or a public figure. But Meghan did not simply deflect. She subtly countered allegations with carefully curated details of her own, highlighting timelines, support networks, and documented experiences that reinforced her version of events. By grounding her response in specific facts, she added credibility to her position while maintaining a tone of measured emotional vulnerability. Her goal was not to attack Samantha publicly, but to reclaim the narrative in a way that resonated with both her audience and her critics. One of the most striking aspects of Meghan's response was the emotional nuance she displayed. She acknowledged the challenges of family estrangement, the pain of misrepresentation, and the intense scrutiny of public life. At the same time, she projected confidence, determination, and an unyielding commitment to her son. Audiences could sense the tension between personal hurt and public responsibility, and it only heightened engagement. People were not just watching a celebrity. They were witnessing a mother navigating one of the most sensitive controversies of her life. Meghan's words also carried subtle warnings. While maintaining a composed demeanor, she made it clear that misinformation, manipulation, and personal attacks have consequences. Her legal team, advisors, and communications staff had likely prepared for every scenario, and her carefully phrased statements reinforced the idea that Samantha's claims, if unsubstantiated, would be challenged through official channels. The message was clear. The Duchess would not be a passive participant in a narrative that threatened her family's integrity. Public reaction to the interview was immediate and intense. Social media exploded with commentary, praise, criticism, and analysis. Fans celebrated her eloquence, resilience, and the emotional honesty she conveyed. Critics questioned the authenticity of her words, scrutinizing her tone, gestures, and phrasing for any perceived inconsistencies. Every word she spoke became a point of debate, and every nuance fueled further speculation about the truth behind Samantha's allegations. The timing of Meghan's response was also strategic. By waiting until the story had reached its peak in public consciousness, she ensured maximum attention and impact. The narrative had grown uncontrollable. Millions were already invested in the drama. By stepping forward, Meghan seized control, shifting the conversation from passive speculation to active engagement. Her silence had created tension, and her response delivered a mix of reassurance, subtle challenge, and strategic narrative redirection. In addition to addressing public perception, Meghan's statements reinforced her personal narrative as a mother and protector. She emphasized the importance of privacy, the value of family bonds, and the responsibility she felt toward Archie. This focus not only humanized her, but also strategically aligned her message with the values that resonate most with her audience: authenticity, resilience, and maternal dedication. By framing her response around these themes, she shifted the conversation from scandal to context, reminding the public that the human stakes far outweighed gossip. Even so, Meghan's silence before the interview and her carefully measured words during it did not extinguish public fascination. In fact, they intensified it. Analysts dissected her every phrase. Journalists speculated about what she had omitted, and fans debated which statements carried hidden meaning. The public's desire to uncover the truth transformed the interview into both a revelation and a puzzle, keeping the story alive and engagement high. Perhaps most importantly, Meghan's response set the stage for the next chapter of the feud. While she did not directly name Samantha or address every allegation, her words signaled that further developments were likely. She had defended her integrity, clarified timelines, and framed her perspective, but the controversy was far from over. The public sensed that there was more to come, and that each new revelation would continue to fuel speculation, debate, and emotional engagement. As Meghan concluded her statements, the audience was left with mixed feelings: admiration, empathy, skepticism, and curiosity. She had spoken with authority, but the lingering questions remained. Could her version of events be fully trusted? How would Samantha respond? And what would happen when the next piece of evidence, or revelation, surfaced? The interview also had ripple effects within the royal family. Senior members observed, analyzed, and advised on how to navigate the public response, while Harry reportedly provided support, ensuring that the family remained united amid unprecedented scrutiny. Every statement Meghan made became both a personal defense and a strategic move in a complex chess game involving family, public perception, and global media attention. But just as the world thought it had heard Meghan's definitive response, Samantha teased another revelation, something even more explosive, something that threatened to destabilize the carefully constructed narrative once again. The feud, far from being resolved, had entered a new, more dangerous stage, promising revelations that would leave audiences stunned. The world thought it had reached the peak of the drama, that Meghan's poised interview had quelled the feverish speculation. But Samantha Markle was far from finished. In fact, she had been preparing for this moment all along. The revelation she promised would shake not only Meghan's public image but the very narrative surrounding